Okay, and I'm with Ian Clayton, the world famous Ian Clayton of USMBOK fame. Welcome, and I believe you've got some news about the books and how you're being published and so on.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. So around about last September, I was approached by Stationery Office, TSO, via email, just asking whether I'd be open to them publishing the books at some time. And we've had an ongoing conversation since then, and we've moved we certainly said, yeah, it could be a great idea. But one of the challenges was, how would you actually position something like the USMBOK, which is largely based upon service management as it's defined by non-IT folks, service businesses. So we had a discussion about that, and they thought the idea of setting aside a special place at their International Best Practice Library site would make sense. And so they've set aside that area, and it's now Universal Service Management. And so the purpose here was to show some of the books, have the conversations, and present to what might be the next generation of service management thinking that we believe the industry needs to be talking about.
Okay, and on that, in terms of the industry and where it's going, there's a lot of debate about, ITIL is still the dominant thing, but there's a lot of talk about COBIT and that seems to be emerging. You obviously got an interest with USMBOK. What do you see that ITIL and maybe COBIT and other methodologies or frameworks don't have that needs to be filled by USMBOK?
Well, I'm not sure that I can go as far as say that the USMBOK can fill gaps that the others might have. I think that COBIT and ITIL are all very valuable contributors to this puzzle that's been set for IT. It's moving, I think. We've always thought that IT's on the move with advances in technology. But it seems to be gathering such a pace now, where the world is so interconnected, where IT's become invisible technology. It really has become transparent. It's not there. And so when you bring forward to the front at the executive level conversations around processes and various frameworks, I just don't think that resonates. And the language that we're hearing up at the executive level inside of service businesses is customer experience, moments of truth. It's a different lexicon. And so COBIT and ITIL are valuable, but we need to have a lexicon out there that makes sense to the business side. And so it sounds like an old challenge, the alignment with the business, but now we're back at that language stage. And I think that what I've tried to do in the things that I'm writing and encouraging other people to write in blogs and books is go understand the true roots of service management. It lives in product management in the 70s. Understand the thought leaders who had a similar struggle to what we're having today, but they were struggling with application developers and other product managers who thought that a factory-styled, process-driven approach was it, and they were confronted with this epiphany that we now have services where the customer is the instigator of the service. They help produce the service. They go to the ATM, put their card in, and there's a language out there that companies like Disney, Nordstrom, Apple uses that we need to consider injecting into what we're doing today. If it doesn't inject in properly, then there's a layer missing.
Just briefly, what couple of things, in practical terms, if I was an ITSM guy and I was starting to look at your stuff, what couple of things might you pick out as being different in the approach?
First thing would be what we call outside-in thinking. So the very first thing is that there's a single instrument of trade for IT, and that's a service request. We don't differentiate between what's called an incident or a complaint and a service request. They're all types of requests of IT. Now, outside-in thinking means we don't actually start there. That's our instrument of trade. That's what drives our work effort. But we have to go sit with the customer, and you were mentioning earlier coffee and donuts. It literally is the old game of sitting with the customer and looking. We call it going on a service safari to observe the customer in their natural habitat, it seems. It seems that alien to us, so we have to plan for it, go get the four-wheel drive, go out and sit with the customer and look at one thing that they're doing that they have a challenge with and bring that back in to drive the improvement efforts.
Sounds like, you know, the old operations manager going, you know, I've got to kill all the crocodiles before I drain the swamp kind of thing.
Well, we found that the IT folks that we work with acclimatise real quickly to this. So they're able to bring in, we help them shape a single scenario. We call it a consumer scenario. We use the business language, and we drive the workshops, or we drive the conversation with that in mind. So we always start outside in and continue to go back there. It's like an honesty bar to check that we're talking about this the right way. We find that folks have a genetic trait, it seems, to think inside out, which means to go to how it's done and to go on training about how it's done, and they often miss out on why we have to do what we do. So it's not that outside in should be done without any inside out thinking. It's just you start outside in, and then it means that the inside out thinking that you do is more powerful.
Does that still work alongside ITIL, COBIT and all those other things as well? Can you still use bits of that?
Absolutely. In fact, it adds a lot of value to them, because you're able to go to those types of books and references with questions that you really need the answers to. Now, what it can do is expose the gaps, but that's healthy, because then you can go to other books to pick up the information you need. But when you do find the information in ITIL and COBIT, it raises the value of ITIL, and it helps you get over the stigma that seems to be out there, which is really unfortunate. We're hearing today where ITSMers are saying, well, we're not allowed to use the terms ITIL and that when management are around, and that's absolutely shocking. That means that they're poorly positioned. ITIL is very valuable, so is COBIT. They're valuable references. It's a case of when to use them, how to use them. And I think our industry, there was some talk today at the Pink Show about we need to look at the training that we're offering, and we need to really press the reset button on this.
Okay, Ian, thanks very much.
You're welcome, Barclay. Take care, sir.
Cheers.